Just 2 days out from the big one, and while Big Ange solely concentrates on the two-legged semi-final that could just save his top-level career, the recruitment team at Tottenham are working overtime to bring in more young, exciting, hungry talent to supplement the start of the painful rebuild that we've now been on for nearly 18 months. I'll be discussing the latest links as well as the surprisingly positive news that one of our best young players has signed a brand new deal and reports of potential replacements for our Australian gaffer. Welcome to Daily Tottenham Hotspur News with me, Barnaby Slater. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please do give this video a like. Please do subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. But let's get on straight away with that news that Lucas Bergvall has signed a brand new deal which will run until 2031. That's right, a 6-year contract. He only joined us back in February 2024, so just over a year ago, and that shows once again something I've been saying for a long time. One thing you cannot say Daniel Levy doesn't do is when young players show their talent, he signs them up on long deals very, very early. He did the same with Dele Alli back in the day, and he's been shown to do it time and time again, and this is smart moves from Tottenham Hotspur because, again, Barcelona, who tried to get Lucas Bergvall when we signed him, were sniffing around him once more, and now he's signed up. I don't know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think there'll be some kind of transfer clause in there for an amount of money? I don't know, maybe something like £100 million. If I was his agent, I would have been smart and put something like that in there. But I think Tottenham have now kind of covered themselves. So whatever happens, either Bergvall stays at the club until, for the next 3, 4, 5 years, or if he is going to leave, someone is going to have to pay a lot of money. He's made 45 appearances this season, and he has, of course, netted his first goal. He netted his first goal for the club in our 1-0 victory in the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg against Liverpool, and has 4 assists as well. Let me know how good you think Lucas Bergvall can be in the comments. I personally think he is one of the very few bright spots of what has been a thoroughly underwhelming season, and getting him signed up to that new contract is a rare piece of good news. I don't mean to sound negative, but of course, still on the back of that 5-1 defeat at the weekend, and I'm just trying to get my positivity back before the huge Bodo Glimt game on Thursday. But that Bergvall news is a little bit of positivity. Some news coming over from Spain. Obviously, all the reports are that Xabi Alonso will become the next Real Madrid manager. However, reports from the Spanish press are that he actually has 4 different options, Xabi Alonso, the manager of Bayer Leverkusen, of course, going into next season. And they are Real Madrid, Tottenham Hotspur, staying at Leverkusen, and Real Sociedad have also offered him a deal. Now, do I think it's likely that Xabi Alonso will come to be the manager of Tottenham Hotspur next season? No, I don't. Why would you not go to Real Madrid? The only thing I can think, and it is absolutely pie in the sky, is if he has an eye on kind of longevity in his career, in his managerial career, then maybe he'll think about having one step between Leverkusen and a huge super club like Real Madrid, in which case, and if he did want to manage in the Premier League, I think Tottenham would be a good option for him. He's not going to get the Liverpool job anytime soon, and you thought that maybe the 2 options for him in terms of managerial roles would be Liverpool and Real Madrid, because he played for both clubs. And really, whoever does take the Tottenham manager's job next season, assuming that it's not going to stay with Ange Postecoglou, really it's a good place to take Tottenham from, because we're going to finish 17th in the league. I cannot believe I'm saying it out loud, but we just are. And any manager that comes in can only improve from there. I'm pretty sure of that. Now, like I said, don't get at me in the comments, because like I said, I don't think it's likely Xabi Alonso will come to Spurs. But I think it's right that the club have put an offer to him and said, listen, if you want to take a step between now and going to a Real Madrid and come and manage in the Premier League, then Tottenham would be a good option for you. Like I said, I think it's highly unlikely, but let me know in the comments whether you think Xabi Alonso would be a good manager for Spurs. I think it's something that would excite the crowd, that's for sure. But like I said, very unlikely. I'm sure you've all heard about this, but Matt Law did a big article on Spurs the other day talking about how we're having to face the prospect of selling to buy this summer, despite the fact that obviously we do comply to with profit and sustainability rules. We've got no problems when it comes to that, but there's just no cash in the bank. And unless ENIC were to inject some cash in themselves or manage to find a minority stake investor, then it's very unlikely we're going to be able to spend a lot of money this summer. And that is also because we owe so much money. We owe the most money in the Premier League on transfers that we've already made in terms of instalment paying. So that is no surprise to me, I have to say. ENIC have never really invested their own money in the club. Only a few years ago where they did a share issue that put some money into the club. And the cash has run out. We've been making a loss, believe it or not, over the last 5 or 6 years. I know everyone talks about how well run Spurs are and how rich we are. We do make a lot of revenue, but we don't have a lot of cash in the bank. This is also another reason why I think there is a chance that Daniel Levy might be tempted to stick with Ange Postecoglou, because Ange really knows what the deal is with the strategy and with the finances at the club, and it's not going to be that easy to attract a new manager if the first thing they hear is that they're not going to really have any money to spend. So that is one potential reason why I think, is it possible that Ange actually might stay in the job even if we don't win the Europa League? It seems unlikely. I don't think we can finish 17th in the league and the manager keep his job. I just cannot see that happening. Now, as I mentioned in the opening and in the thumbnail, Tottenham are leading the race alongside Manchester United to sign the brilliant 21-year-old Lyon playmaker Ryan Cherky. He's such a talented player. He is the kind of player we've needed since Christian Eriksen left all those years ago. A real playmaker, a really stylish flair player, creative to the core. I know we've got James Maddison, I know we've got Decky Kulusevski, but we need more creativity down the spine of the team. And Ryan Cherky, who could be available for between 30 and 35 million euros, if we can get rid of some of those players that we need to sell and spend that money on a player like him, I would be very, very happy with that. Check him out. He really is a talent. I watched him for the French under-21s against England a few weeks ago, and he just took the game by the scruff of the neck. Such a talent. Here's a report that I think is very, very unlikely. Both Tottenham and Newcastle keeping a close eye on Jarrod Bowen's situation, apparently, with the forward, having concerns about West Ham's direction under Graham Potter. Well, let me put that one to bed for you. There is no way that West Ham are going to sell their best player and their best player for years, for that matter, to Tottenham Hotspur. It's just not going to happen. I could see him probably going to Newcastle, though, unfortunately. And again, that is the kind of thing that shows how far Newcastle have jumped ahead of Tottenham Hotspur now. Same with Aston Villa, going for players that really should be in Tottenham's wheelhouse, but that Tottenham can no longer, or are choosing no longer to go for. And when we finish 17th in the league, it's going to make us struggle to attract the kind of players that previously we would have been able to attract. Speaking of which, Spurs still in for Mark Guéhi alongside Chelsea and Newcastle. There's a possibility that Guéhi will go on a free transfer in a year's time if a deal can't be agreed. I've talked about this before. The fact that Spurs went to bid for Guéhi back in January, I think, shows that they're aware that Christian Romero is more than likely to leave this summer, and Guéhi is very much still on Tottenham's list. I do like Mark Guéhi as a player. I'm not sure, again, whether he would want to come to Tottenham at this point, and that is, a continuing pattern, isn't it? When you think about some of these players that Tottenham will be trying to get in, whether or not they'd be willing to come to Spurs is a huge problem. Arsenal and Spurs set to go head-to-head in the race to sign Sporting midfielder Morten Hjulman. So that's another one. That's more likely, I think, that kind of young, exciting player strategy, as I mentioned before. Speaking of which, 24-year-old Spanish centre-back Mario Gila is also on Tottenham's list. Once again, Tottenham swimming in the same transfer waters as some of the biggest clubs in the world. Man City and Real Madrid also interested in the Lazio player, and Lazio want 40 to 45 million euros for him, in which case, unless Romero goes for big, big money, highly unlikely we're going to reinvest. We're going to invest that money unless that happens. How much can we get for Romero? Some reports that Atletico Madrid only willing to pay £40 million for him. Well, listen, we paid pretty much more than that to get him in, so there's no way he's going for that. And Daniel Levy, tough negotiator. I would be looking to get somewhere near £80 million for Christian Romero if he wants to leave and if a club seriously wants him. World Cup winner, 2-time Copa America winner. You got to pay for the best, and Romero is one of the best centre-halves, certainly on the ball. Spurs still interested in signing Southampton wonderkid Tyler Dibbling and are confident of driving down Southampton's asking price. Southampton not going to have as much collateral now that they have been relegated. Spurs also pushing to sign 17-year-old Axel Tappe from PSG. Again, a 17-year-old sounds like more like the kind of strategy that Tottenham can do, where they can offer these young players playing time like they were able to do with Lucas Bergvall. A lot of young players around Europe will look at what has happened with Bergvall and Archie Gray this season and be like, oh, I could be getting minutes in the Premier League at a big club like Tottenham Hotspur. That could be a place for me to go. Everton have made Richarlison their first choice target this summer. They want him back at the club. I think if we can get £30 million off Everton, snap their hands off, say thank you Richarlison, you haven't got on the pitch nearly enough for Spurs, so go back to Everton, and he'll probably go and score goals there, and he'll probably score goals against Spurs too. That is a deal I would like to see done. Manchester United interested in Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis, who of course Tottenham have the first option on this summer for around £25 million. So Cardoso, interesting Man United. Whether Tottenham will pull the trigger on him this summer remains to be seen. But I think it can only be good news that other clubs are sniffing around him too. Shows that he's a player of some potential. But will Tottenham get that deal done? Some reports that James Maddison is more likely to stay at Spurs this summer if Ange Postecoglou leaves. Not a huge surprise to me. I feel like there's been some kind of disconnect between the two of them. Ange did give him a big hug after the Eintracht Frankfurt game. That showed some positivity, but he's just... he's not played as much as he'd want to, James Maddison. He always gets taken off towards the end of the game. And I can see why now maybe Maddison is thinking, yeah, this isn't working under Big Ange Postecoglou. But also, I'm not sure really who would spend the kind of money on James Maddison now that Tottenham would need to sell him. I cannot see a club coming in for like 50, 60 million pounds for him. He's just not been in good enough form for that. As I mentioned, Atletico Madrid in for Christian Romero, but some reports they're also in for Rodrigo Bentancur as well. That could be a double deal that could bring some money in, although I do think Bentancur has been playing better in the big games recently. He was certainly impressive in that Frankfurt game. One of the managers on the list now for Spurs to potentially replace Big Ange Postecoglou is Borussia Dortmund head coach Niko Kovac. That'll be interesting. He's a new one added to the list of the likes of Iraola, Silva, and some more reports coming out at the moment that Pochettino is high up on that list with Daniel Levy, and they have some feeling that that is a deal that could get done. I can't see how it gets done. I can't see how he breaks the contract with America, the American national team, and that Spurs would be willing to pay that amount of money to get him out. But the reputable reports are that Pochettino is a possibility. And I don't know whether you heard this from Sammy Merkbell yesterday, but Tottenham have requested for the Premier League to move their fixture with Aston Villa so they would have more time to prepare for a potential Europa League final. Aston Villa have written to the Premier League and said they don't want that to happen. So a little bit of a to and fro between the two clubs there. I assume it won't happen, and that if Spurs were to get to that Europa League final, they just have to play the kids in the game 3 days before on the Sunday. And frankly, I think we all know we're basically going to lose every Premier League game between now and the end of the season, and we're going to finish 17th. But if we can beat Bodo Glimt and get through to that final on Thursday night, then who cares? All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please do give this video a like. Please do press subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, you can become a member, only £1 a month, and it really helps me make this daily content for you. All the details of how are in the description box below. Come on, you Spurs.